This call is now being recorded.
Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Shamori Swiger. I am on the line with a very special guest, Mr. Christopher Everett. He is the filmmaker of the powerful film, Wilmington On Fire, that gives a detailed account of the 1898 massacre, slaughter, and coup d'etat of Wilmington, the city of Wilmington in North Carolina. He has done meticulous research to put the film together. The quality of the film is excellent, very clear. The researchers in the film did their just due. And so we're privileged to have this brother on the line so we can just kind of unpack this for everybody. So this is just a supplement. This is an audio supplement to those that will tune into the radio show. But in any event, Christopher, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. So, we were talking just briefly, real quick, just let people know where you're from and just a very brief synopsis of Wilmington On Fire.
Well, my name is Christopher Everett, 34 years old, born and raised in a small town called Laurinburg in the state of North Carolina. Wilmington On Fire is a feature-length documentary that chronicles the 1898 Wilmington Massacre in Wilmington, North Carolina. And this event is significant not only to North Carolina history, but American history in general, because this is one of the only times that we've ever actually had a coup d'etat in America. It was a violent overthrow of the government in the city of Wilmington, North Carolina, back in November 10th, 1898. And it was also a massacre of the African-American community, the African-American business people, and just the whole state of North Carolina went into Jim Crow segregation right after this event. This is the event that created Jim Crow in North Carolina. And then the rest of the South kind of took heed with the example and the model that the people behind the 1898 massacre put out there.
All right. Now, Christopher, one thing I love doing, like I said, we're going to talk about this during the actual radio show on Wednesday, but I always love whenever we have African-American artists, African-American photographers, filmmakers, whatever the case may be, if they have contact information, I believe in sharing that. Oftentimes people like to hog the shine. They want to be the one person at the top of the mountain. I don't believe in that. I believe in making sure people can get their message out. How can people reach you in social media or however you would love for them to reach you?
Well, they can hit me up directly on my cell phone. They can just send me a text. I'm a very open person. They can just send me a text, man, 910-378-4357, 910-378-4357. Just send me a text. And, we also have the film website up, WilmingtonOnFire.com, WilmingtonOnFire.com. And you can also hit up Wilmington On Fire on Facebook as well. We're on Twitter at Wilmington1898. And we're on Instagram also, Wilmington On Fire.
All right. Now, is the film available for purchase, or how can people see the film, or what's the status of that?
Oh, yeah, the film is available for purchase. It's on digital download on Vimeo, Vimeo on demand, and also available for DVD. But they just go to WilmingtonOnFire.com, WilmingtonOnFire.com. You can get the digital download and the DVD right off the website.
All right, great. Now, let's unpack this masterpiece that you've assembled here. You did Wilmington On Fire, and a lot of people may not know. Now, I don't consider myself to be a griot or griot, however you like to say it. But I am somebody that loves history. I do my own research and things of that nature, or whatever happens to interest me. And I've kind of, I'm familiar with like what happened with Tulsa, heard of Rosewood, and I've heard about Wilmington, but I've never really took the time to go in depth with it. Now, those that are listening, if you've never heard of Wilmington, the slaughter that happened there, or if you've just had like an inkling of it, I encourage you to really check this film out. I learned a lot about this just through watching this film. I was amazed by this, and you can see so many dimensions of what happened, how it impacted the people in that time, and how the repercussions, the ramifications through generations were affected by this. When you talk about power and the transfer of wealth, you see this here. It's illustrated in this film. So, Christopher, I want you, if you could just explain to people, because when we talk about like this Trump administration, or if we just talk about white supremacy in general, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Millie Fuller always talk about the 9 areas of people activity when we talk about white supremacy: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. I saw all those play out, yes, in this whole documentary, step by step. Literally, each one was identified. But tell us a little bit about the white government union. Just, and I know you probably don't want to let the whole cat out the bag. So
we can talk about it. Yeah, because people still want to still watch the film still, but yeah, the white government union. One of the researchers in the film is a white guy named Ken Chatfield. He has done extensive research, on this organization.
Man, he was good. He was good.
Man. Yeah, he has a lot of, insight, to this, man. But, the white government union pretty much was a secret political society. Like I said, like in the film, similar to the Klan, but, it was very organized, and it consisted of a lot of politicians, and also lawyers. And this is one thing, this is one way how they're able to do this massacre, and also solidify the massacre was with the help of the court system. And the white government union, majority of its makeup are people that knew the law and were involved in the courts, and also, but, they pretty much, their whole agenda was to destroy the fusionist movement. And the fusionist movement was pretty much a coalition of, black Republicans and white populists, and they kind of merged together in this thing called fusion. And it was really to get, their people in political office. And you had a lot of African Americans that held political office throughout the state of North Carolina back then. And you also had a lot of African Americans in Wilmington involved in the political arena. You had a lot of black aldermen. You had, blacks on the police department, the fire department,
magistrates.
So the magistrates as well. So African Americans were starting to do their thing in politics, but it was a mixed government of, whites and blacks kind of joining together in this thing called fusion. And the white government union really wanted to destroy that. And they wanted to bring, I guess, quote unquote, those white folks back to white supremacy fully. And it actually, when we show the documents that they have, their constitution and bylaws, we actually show that in the film. And it actually says that in the constitution and bylaws. It says that, it's a division amongst the white men. And that division happened, right after the Civil War, where a lot of white folks from the Democratic Party kind of left the Democratic Party and, really wanted to focus on, employment, good schools, for the kids, and get more involved in politics. So that was one of the main goals of the white government union, was to destroy that political coalition with whites and blacks and bring white people back into white supremacy fully.
Yes. This was so interesting, everybody. Like, I think of the Trump administration, and where we are. We think of these white supremacist groups. We have the neo-Nazis, the KKK, the skinheads. You have Stormfront. It's over 100. I mean, even if you go to like the Southern Poverty Law Center, they identify a lot of these groups and where they are geographically on the map. You can check your locale and see which the closest one to you. So that's a resource. But they also, here's the thing that we have to understand in 2017. A lot of these things, and what I like, Christopher, is the guy, the white researcher that you had in your film. I like the fact that he said, well, I see the bylaws, but I don't see anything saying that these bylaws are ever abolished. Right. And how do you know that these things, these people, this organization, and practices are still, that they're not being practiced right now? They're still alive and kicking. And so that's real. Tell the people a little bit, because like I said, I don't want you to spill the beans, but the red shirts and the white militias, how do you see that compared to what you see now going? How would you explain that?
Well, the red shirts back then, they were actually worse than the Ku Klux Klan because they didn't wear any mask. They were wide open with it. And they did a lot of their stuff in broad daylight. But they were a terrorist group. They were white supremacists, and they pretty much always attacked African Americans who were trying to, exercise their right to vote, start a business, or try to advance. And the white government union and the Democratic Party used the red shirts to do a lot of the ground labor, you know what I'm saying, in regards to, violence and intimidation, on the African American community. And they also, did violence and intimidation on certain white folks as well, who were, allies, to African Americans. They would attack them as well. So they were all out with it. If you weren't down with white supremacy, you had to go. So that's what they're about. And you kind of see those type of things going on now when, as, this Trump administration and everything, you see the similarities of certain, individuals and groups are starting to pop up now. And they're confident with it. And it's how it was with the 1898 massacre. Because, see, this massacre just didn't happen out of the blue. It was several years of propaganda and organizing and rallying up red shirts and stuff like that, to which actually lead up to November 10th, 1888. And you see this thing, we saw the same thing with the rise of the birther movement, and they kind of propped up, Donald Trump, the Republican Party, I guess they kind of slept on that movement. And a lot of us slept on that movement. When it first happened, when Obama got elected, that birther movement, and, they kind of propped up Trump because he was one of the head people for that they propped up the birther movement. And then it just spiraled out of control, and then you see what happened. He's the president of the United States right now.
The other thing that I kind of want to talk about, because this is critical, one thing that was very key in your documentary film is you highlight the importance of black media. And when I say black media, you discuss the life of Mr. Manley, who's a black newspaper. Well, actually, Mr. Manley, like you said in the film, he was educated at Hampton University, but then, he kind of changed the trade and he went to opening his own daily newspaper. And he was responsible in disseminating information to the black community. Just, pretty much whoever wanted to get a hold of the paper, just get the paper. And he was successful with that. But when he bumped heads, see, he had his own media outlet. But then it's kind of like you had the white lady that was kind of like, oh, well, you know, she created her own propaganda, which was bolstered by white male supremacist propaganda. They propped that up with the whole birth of a nation, white women being raped and ravaged by savage black men. They had their own propaganda and news outlet. You know, people would think of like Fox News type thing. And you showed and highlighted the importance of controlling the narrative and the dissemination of information. If you control the information that's going out, if you control the message, you dictate the reaction. And it depends on who your audience is. Once again, not letting the cat out the bag, I'll let you expound on that if you would like to.
Yeah, well, you know, one of the ways that they were able to, you know, do a massacre, they had a strong propaganda campaign, which lasted, up to a year, from like 1897 all the way up until November 10th, 1898, and then after as well. A lot of the white supremacists throughout the state, the ones that owned the media and it was newspapers back then during that time, they all were part of the Democratic Party, all were white supremacists. And they actually would just fabricate stories. And they used newspapers and used political cartoons to kind of narrate, these stories. And they would have these crazy headlines, saying, a black person just robbed somebody, or a black person just raped a white woman, or, you know what I'm saying? And they would just make up things. And then they also would really over-exaggerate a lot of the black progress, pretty much saying that, black people are just taking over the whole state of North Carolina, which that wasn't true at all. But, they would highlight certain African Americans, and then a poor white person would see that, just like how you see it now. How they'll prop up Oprah or Will Smith, and a lot of, white folks think that black people are just getting all this stuff and we're doing so well, and you know what I'm saying? So it's
Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Exactly. So, it's the same strategies, man. They've always done this, and they definitely was doing it back then. But also, they knew they took advantage of people's ignorance, just like how they do now.
Yes.
Because a lot of white people back then couldn't read. And so they knew that. And even a lot of the newspaper owners back then, they also admitted to it. They said, we made up this stuff because we were trying to sell papers. And putting out stuff about black people made us a lot of money. So they made a lot of money, plus they were able to promote white supremacy at the same time. And it also conditioned, a lot of white liberals, that maybe this was justified. Maybe this should have happened to African Americans. And, Alex Manley, the newspaper owner, he was blamed. A lot of African Americans blamed him for the massacre, but they were going to do the massacre anyway. They just kind of used, his whole article, about him talking about Rebecca Felton and how she was saying that white men need to stand up for white women. And, black men are out here raping, white women. And, Manley did his rebuttal in his paper.
Right.
Saying that's not true at all. Is that he was bold with it, man. He said that, majority of the time it's white women who are looking for black men, and then it's when they get caught. Then it's when they want to call rape. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so the white supremacists saw that. And like I said, they were trying to do propaganda for a long time. They just couldn't find out this stuff. But they got that article, and then it just stuck, man, and just grew like wildfire. They started plastering that article all over the state of North Carolina. And then it just kind of grew and just became out of control. And, Alex Manley, man, he had to start walking around with a bodyguard and everything. Because he had a target on him. And we were fortunate
Right.
enough to have his grandson in the film as well. And that's another thing, I wanted to have like a mixture of people like historians, activists, researchers, and also a couple of direct descendants like Alex Manley's grandson who we have in the film too.
Yes, yes. It kind of reminded me, once again, going back to the Trump administration, before Trump even became 45th President of the United States of America, this rewinds me back, when we talk about propaganda, to the Central Park jogger case. Now, see, I'm from New York, and I remember when that whole Central Park jogger thing was going on. I was a kid at the time, and it was like, wow, like I literally remember that case, like sitting down on a couch with my mom and my brother, watching the news, looking at these, these young brothers getting like hauled off. And now, you fast forward to, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, where they came out with like the documentary on the Central Park 5, and how, how they were like forced into confessions and all of that. So once again, you had Donald Trump take out this whole big newspaper ad to slander them and build this case that basically they need to, have, if they didn't get life, or just, give them the utmost punishment, if he didn't have any evidence. But it was just using his influence and his name, his money and reputation to skew the narrative that would put these 5 young black men in jail. And so kind of that same thing with the power of the media and propaganda. So excellent. The other thing that I thought was interesting was when we talk about like these black citizens, the Committee of Colored Citizens, I never heard of that. This was new to me as of literally a few hours ago. Never heard of the Committee of Colored Citizens. But to me, and I may have it wrong, but to me this sounds like, these well-to-do blacks that probably, and like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, but these sound like, well-to-do blacks that are operating under the auspices or under the aegis of, white supremacists or whites that are controlling the politics and the money to control the blacks that are not as affluent or have as much influence. Yeah. And they were the ones that were carrying the orders to kind of, how can I say, control Manley, who's operating the newspaper and everything. Is that right, or is that?
Yeah, man, because he pretty much, the Colored Citizens Committee, it was just, I guess they were like the Black Boule, of Wilmington, in a way. Mm-hmm. And, they were sent because, they were pretty much your civic leaders, some of your business leaders and pastors and people like that, of, the black community in Wilmington. So whenever something arrives, just like how you have the NAACP or something now, in your city, they were kind of like that in a way. And so when, the white supremacists demanded that Manley shut down his newspaper and get out of town, they sent this letter, to them. And the thing is, they didn't realize that they were going to do the massacre regardless. They wanted to kill Manley, and they wanted to totally obliterate the African American community completely. Mm-hmm. And so they sent this letter to them, making these demands, and certain Negroes, what I'm saying, they tried to comply and say that, well, we don't really have the power to do certain things, but we'll try to tell, Manley just to shut down his paper and leave, just to have some type of order of the peace, what I'm saying? So, so we'll have peace and nothing happens, And the thing is, the guy, Alfred Moore Waddell, who made himself mayor, he was one of the white supremacists, behind this. When you look at his papers are at UNC Chapel Hill here in North Carolina. He actually has a copy of the letter. Now, he told everybody that he never got the letter from the Colored Citizens Committee, so he lied. They pretty much said that, well, they didn't respond back, so we just want to just kill everybody.
Wow.
But he actually got the letter, he got the response back, but he just didn't tell everybody else. Then, because that's what I said, it had nothing to do with Alex Manley in his article. They were going to do what they were going to do, regardless. And then African Americans, they should have stood, the Colored Citizens Committee and others should have stood behind Manley, but they didn't. And the propaganda campaign that they were doing, it not only affected white people, but it also affected our people as well. Because like I said, that a lot of people were mad at him, because of that article, and they blamed him. They said he was starting trouble and all that. And see, a lot of our people fell for the propaganda, and that's why a lot of them really didn't back Manley like they should have either. So propaganda works both ways. It worked on the white folks, and it also worked on us as well.
Yes. And I think that's still relevant today.
Yeah.
See, and it's like, that's why I like connecting the dots from the past to the present, because we still have a lot of Negroes in power that do a lot of the bidding. They carry the bath water, they lick boots, and they do all sorts of things under the aegis of white supremacists. And they tell you to bow, they bow, and stoop, they stoop. And when you have somebody like, let's say, a Colin Kaepernick who's actually standing up for something for real, you have some people that come out saying, oh, well, I don't agree with what he's doing. What he's doing is wrong. It's kind of like, no. All
you have to do is cut his hair,
Right, yeah, cut his hair, be a good Negro. And it's kind of like, no, this man is telling you, first of all, he's telling you, look, if you think that these killings that we're seeing the police involved with African Americans is cool, you're extremely misled. If you think that when you listen to the national anthem in its full entirety, when you listen to it in its entirety, not just a stanza, you understand that they were pro-slavery. You're standing for this, and you're honoring this. And as blacks, what does this mean to you? The fact that the NFL, it says, look, you know what? We're not even going to. We're going to stand back and just kind of let you fall off the map. The fact that you have people criticizing them for even taking that stance, and they're black, says a lot. You had that. So, and it goes across the spectrum. Whether we're talking about, once again, the 9 areas of people activity, whether you want to talk about the entertainment, economics, and all of that. So that's that. Now, this is where I feel people don't understand. America has this murder game. America has a murder game. We're familiar with it through the system of slavery. We're familiar with it through the Night Riders and the Ku Klux Klan. We're familiar with it through the assassinations. We're familiar with it through the bombing of churches, everything. But here's the thing. America has always maintained power, not necessarily by everybody having an equal vote, equal voice, and expressing of opinions and coming to some type of congenial agreement. A lot of the times, and most of the times, it has been by violent control. And the gun has always been the great equalizer.
Yeah.
The Gatling gun and the bodies that were the black bodies. In the film, I'm not going to say everything that happened, but I'll just say cemeteries, swamps, the Cape River, the Gatling gun, and from hundreds to thousands of bodies, black carcasses, black bodies. what would you say to that? What would you say about that? And people think. See, here's one thing, Christopher, that kind of gets me. We as African Americans, we want to believe in the justice system.
Yeah.
We hope that the justice system acts accordingly. We hope that it abides by the words, not necessarily action, by the words that are written in documents. But when it comes to execution of will, it does not match up with the verbiage that is written. And with that being said, many lives are lost. What did you see with that with Wilmington?
Well, it just shows that I know just research, and also when we put this whole film together, it really shows how the justice system and the courts is all white supremacy. You see what I'm saying? That's how they were able to do this. That's how they were able to create Jim Crow. And it's just not a thing restricted to Wilmington. You know, it's all over America. The justice system from its creation all the way up until now, it's all rooted in white supremacy. You know, and nothing has changed. That's why you have a majority of African American men locked up right now. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, you know, white people, you know, they do the same amount of crimes, they just don't get locked up. Right? You know, and you know, we're the ones that get locked up, and it's because it's white supremacy, you know, all day, every day. And I know a lot of African Americans, they don't want to believe that. I know especially they didn't want to believe it, when we had a black president. But it has nothing to do with anything, you know. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think that's one thing we have to realize is that this whole, white supremacy is in the DNA of America. You know, it is what it is. Whether it's the justice system, everything, the economy, the whole nine. You know, America didn't become a superpower. You know, it only became a superpower, economic-wise because of slavery.
It became a superpower because of its firepower. Yeah. That when you keep boiling it down, that's what it comes down to. I've sat and thought about it for several just years. You just think about it man, this person got this amount of money because they inherited the money from this person. Okay, well, how did this person amass this millions of dollars that they transferred to this person? Okay, well, that money there, that was from slave labor. Okay, well, how did they keep the slaves? Yeah, well, that was under the threat of the gun. It's literally, as you start tracing it, you ask, how does this happen? It's always under the threat of the gun. Even when you look at what's happening with the police nowadays, it is under the threat of the gun is how you keep control of the people. That Gatling gun, the fact that the guy that was doing the research with the film was saying when he was inside of the, I think it was the library, one of the records office, they had that closed room that actually had that Gatling gun that they used. Well, I'm not going to give up all the goods, but that was powerful. And so people that are listening, you may want to believe in the hope, the dreams, the honesty, the integrity, the legacy, freedom, justice, equality. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that you should fight for that every day. But in the same time, always understand that the remnant of white supremacy is rudimentary and it's embedded in the cornerstone of this country where the murder game is essential. And no matter how you try to think, this person is a lawyer, they're not about that life, your film clearly elucidates the fact that they went around with a mob from house to house collecting signatures for a petition. And you had white judges, white bankers, white attorneys, that were participants in this whole massacre. So when you think of people being prominent and you won't attribute such murderous behavior to certain public offices, you're wrong. And this is where I want African Americans to understand. Stop thinking that just because a certain public servant or certain title, certain office, or some type of esteem that is bestowed upon a person clears them of their ability to behave as a savage. No. This film clearly shows this. You had judges, bankers, attorneys, and magistrates all complicit in this. And it was a massacre. So make sure y'all understand that. So the last thing that I'm going to talk about, Christopher, man, I want you to kind of, once again, without giving up the goods, there is an economic point that people need to understand. You have people that may come, we may have our brothers and sisters that may come from the motherland. They may come from the Caribbean islands. We have Europeans that may come from European countries. We may have East Indians, all of this. And they always look at African Americans like, you guys are lazy. There's no excuse for you to, not be at this level. And they don't understand how we were damaged economically. We were economically circumcised, economically aborted generationally by these type of things. Wilmington is just one. Rosewood is just one. Tulsa is just one. And there are probably a lot more untold stories. Christopher, can you tell us a little bit about how the economic ramifications from real estate to the banking mortgages and the loss of jobs and everything? I know you had Sandy Derry talking about the employment points and all of that. If you can kind of give us a snapshot of that.
Oh, yeah, man. The African American community, man, was devastated economically because of this massacre. Like I said, you had a thriving black middle class in Wilmington that was coming up, and you also had African Americans coming from all over the state and other parts of the country coming to Wilmington because Wilmington was paying like some of the highest wages, on the East Coast back there. You know what I'm saying? And they were and people were hiring African Americans left and right. So it was a place where you can kind of get your feet wet, in the economic arena. And, you can, stack your money up, get your house, or, start a business or whatever if you wanted to. And that's what a lot of African Americans did. And they were doing their thing. But when this massacre happened, it kind of put a stop to it because they implemented Jim Crow. They stopped hiring African Americans in these good jobs. They stopped funding African American education as well. Before the massacre, the schools in Wilmington pretty much was getting funded equally when you look at the records. But when you look at the records after the 1898 massacre, say if both schools were getting $1,000 a year. After the massacre, the white school was getting 1,000 still, and the black school was getting like 100. You know what I'm saying? A year. So that type of stuff over a period of time is going to affect the community. Also, you lose your property; it's getting stolen, and then also a lot of African Americans just said, "The hell with this place. I'm gonna just get rid of this stuff and try to move to somewhere else." And with us, a lot of times we can't start over in a new city because that city is probably just as racist. So you have to find menial work, and it just takes a toll on us, economically, where the laws are against you, the laws are restricting you to really even rebuild your wealth, and then you lose everything, and you can't even replace it. And then it was like this for a lot of African Americans, really all the way up to the Civil Rights Movement. And people don't realize that the Civil Rights Movement, the last Civil Rights Bill was like 1968. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's not really that long ago. So
no, not at all.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So after right after slavery, we really didn't have anything. And then, luckily we were able to kind of do our thing and try to accumulate something, but we still were behind, economically. And then once we try to do our thing, you have things like Tulsa, Rosewood, Wilmington. You also have different segregation laws that restrict you to do certain things as well, all the way up until the civil rights movement. So all these different impediments, kind of just stifle, black progress. And that's why we're in the situation we are now. I know Professor Sandy Darity, he's been on that issue for years, and I was fortunate enough to have him in the film. But he's always talked about the wealth gap, and it starts from slavery, and then it also got cemented, right after Reconstruction when Jim Crow said it, and then it kind of just stopped whatever progress we were trying to make. It totally stopped it, and that's why African Americans are in the situation we are now, because you can't pass down a job. And I think a lot of the older generation of African Americans, once they started getting those good government jobs, after once segregation ended, and then they started getting the good jobs at the company, the steel plants and the car factories, and getting into good government jobs. They thought that, I guess, it was over. Racism is over. I get a good job now. You know what I'm saying? And then come to find out, their grandkids can't even find a job. They got all this college education and everything, and they can't get no type of work or nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't pass down the job.
That's right.
Because of the end of segregation. And then if you want to start a business, and people don't really, because I struggle with this, because I'm a business owner and I have my own film and distribution company, and it's tough because you don't have the access to the capital. You pretty much have to self-finance everything, and sometimes your own people don't want to support you, and then if you want to grow and expand, you can't get the finance. You don't have the access. But I know a lot of white cats, that have started certain film companies or certain endeavors, their parents and, grandparents got money. So they can easily tap into that,
Yes.
and stay afloat and grow. But see, a lot of our people, we don't understand capitalism. We don't understand that we actually live in a capitalistic society. You need money to make money, and a lot of times our people just don't understand that.
Brother, what you're saying is powerful, and I can agree with you on so many points just in that spiel right there. Especially when it comes to supporting our own. People don't understand that. Our people, they don't. Trust me. Man, it's emotional.
I got some story for you, man. Let me tell you, this happens to me a lot, right? All right. I'm selling DVDs, whatever, and when we do screenings, we charge admission. But we can't.
I'm sorry. Wait, Chris, say it again. You kind of broke up a little bit. Go ahead.
No, can you hear me?
Okay, I hear you good now. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, what I'm saying, when we do screenings and and stuff like that, we charge admission. Just like if you go to any movie theater,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, it's a better experience because I'll be there, and we have several people that's in the film as well. So you get to talk to us and ask us questions, and you know what I'm saying, all of it, and dialogue with us afterwards. You don't get that when you go to the regular movie theater. You know what I'm saying? And we'll just a regular $10 admission. And I've had several people say, hey, where's the money going, from this? Where's the money going? And I also had somebody was going to buy a DVD. They looked there and they said, okay, is this making money? I'm like, what kind of question is that? You don't ask, when you go to the movie theater, you never
ask AMC.
Person. Yeah, you don't ask AMC, you don't ask Regal Cinema or Carmike Cinema, where's the money going? I bought this movie,
right.
Where's the money going? They pay.
Right.
And they go in. Period. And they buy that hot popcorn and hot soda and all this stuff, and they don't say a word. You know what I mean?
Don't say one word.
Yeah. I go through it all the time.
Brother, that right there is the bane of my existence. Like I feel your pain 100%, and as blacks, we have to stop doing that. Like when we come up with creative content, especially with what you did in this film. I mean, you really did your thing, brother.
Right.
This type of stuff takes time. I call it team. I call it team, like a sports team.
Yeah.
TEAM. Time, energy, attention, and money.
Yeah.
That type of stuff you cannot get back. That time, I can't. You know how much time it takes to read through documents and.
Man, I sacrificed like 5 years of my life. You know what I'm saying? Man, I was almost homeless, man, doing this thing. I put all my money, energy, and everything, man. You know, I had a good woman and everything. You know, I had to. You know, we broke up because of my financial struggles. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I sacrificed a lot. You know, doing this. You know what I mean? But I felt like it needed to be done. You know what I'm saying? And also, you know, I want to, it's like, why can't we have something like Warner Brothers or Lionsgate? You know, I want to build it.
Yeah.
You know, that's why, I picked up the mantle to help distribute as an act of protest. You know, get this stuff.
Yes.
You know
Look, when I saw you pick up Dennis Leroy's act of protest, I was like, you know what, that right there, it really warmed my soul. I was like, brothers coming together to put together some more conscious film, like that is what we need. Brothers working together to keep pushing it forward. It's needed. It's necessary. It's mandatory. Man, I get emotional over this because it's kind of like, you know what is needed. People don't know what's necessary until it's truly gone, and then they're asking, well, why didn't we do this? And it's kind of like, no, we were trying to do that. I was trying to show you this, but you weren't listening. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And see, that's the thing, man. You know, we don't have a lot of good quality black content, you know, and black owned and fully black controlled, you know, out here. You know, we get happy when we see a couple of things drop. You know, from like whether it's Marvel. You know, I'm a comic book guy as well. You know, I'm excited about the Black Panther. You know, I'm excited about it. But at the end of the day, you know, Marvel is owned by Disney, and they're gonna get all the money. You know what I'm saying? They'll get a couple $2 billion, man, because you know we all excited because you know we're gonna see a black comic book, you know, here on screen. You know, and they're gonna walk away with billions. You know, but I got guys now that I work with. You saw some of the images we had in the film. You know, I got talented illustrators that I work with. You know, they have their own comic books, and they share the same struggle as I do with film. You know, they have their own comic books. They do their thing with their stuff, and they're trying to do their own thing. But it's like our people won't even support them. You know, but we'll support, you know, white comic book creators. You see what I'm saying? I know one of my guys, man. He said he goes to comic conventions. And black people just walk right past them. Won't even acknowledge them. You know? And you know what I'm saying? It's frustrating, but you know, it is what it is. And you still do what you gotta do, you know. But that's one of the frustrating parts of it is that, you know, it's like we won't really support our own who actually are doing it on their own. It's like we have to wait until they actually get some type of, I guess, backing from a white, you know, entity. And then it's like, okay, they're serious now.
Right. That and it, once again, that goes into the slave mentality and people. Well, this is what
I want to talk to you about. What do you think about my demographic that usually comes out to the film screeners, man?
Bro, you literally.
This is the thing.
Listen.
Okay.
Wait. I gotta interrupt you because your pawn just jumped my pawn. I was just about to go there. I was going to say, you know, I saw you were posting photos of the different filmings that you were showing. And the demographic, for those that are listening, he gave a screening of Wilmington on Fire. And he posted a photo of the audience, right? Now, I really want to make sure that I'm painting this well. So, imagine, you know, a sizable theater. I would say maybe about, maybe 200 seats, maybe.
Yeah, we had 200 seats in there. Yeah,
about 200 seats. You know, that's good for a screening. That's very good for independent film. 200 seats, right?
Yeah.
Now, as I'm looking at the photo, I'm expecting to see black faces in these seats, to learn about the history and what happened. And what I happened to see was well, there were definitely black people there, but I think there were more white people in the audience to see the film, and that really, like, when I say it kind of stoked the fire in me, I was like, wow, you know, this is very, very interesting. So I'm curious to know what that Q&A was like. How did you feel? Was there any type of, did you feel like you need to hold back on certain emotions or feelings, or just what did you hear from them? What were they saying? What was that about, man? Spill the beans.
But the thing is, man, you know, I'm talking to you right now. This is how I talk in the Q&A. And and the thing is that this ain't even the first time where I had majority of places where I screen at. Majority of the time, if it ain't like Detroit or places like that, or like Durham, where it's like a solid African American base there. Majority of the time, especially even in Wilmington, I've screened the film in Wilmington over about 10, 12 times since we released it. And it's always a majority of white people that come out. I don't know why. You know what I'm saying? My thing is, I've had a few people say, well, this film must be some BS because white people are always coming out. The thing is, I don't know why they're coming. They're getting something out of it, I guess. I don't know. But I'm not going to turn nobody away, you know, because they're not.
No.
You know? But I don't know. I don't know why it's like that, man. I've been working hard at trying to get the African American community to come. I don't know. I don't know why we won't come out and really look at this. But I know a few African Americans say, well, you know, I don't want to see that because, you know, it gets me angry, or, you know, I ain't going to see that because I'm putting money in your pocket and you're making all this money anyway. So I've had people say that. So they're not going to come to my screen because they think I'm making a whole bunch of money. So your own people.
See, this, once again, the Negro slave mentality. I think that you're going to get off the plantation before I get off the plantation, so I don't want to help you escape. The whole thing of, well, it's going to make me mad. When you look at the Jewish community, they will, like, they had Schindler's List. They have
Diary of Anne Frank.
The Diary of Anne Frank. They're not afraid to discuss and unpack and sort out the atrocities and violations that were inflicted upon them, and make sure that their posterity, their children, are aware of what happened to them, who was the cause, who were the culprits, who were the violators and suspects, what they did, how they did it, how it impacted them, and why they continue to do what they do to make sure it never happens again. They make sure that story is told, and it's mandatory that they understand this. Us, for some reason, play this whole, I don't want to see it again because I don't want to. Listen. Pay attention. Learn something. Transmit the heritage. Understand it. Like, it is something where it really infuriates me. It really infuriates me, because it's just kind of like your ignorance is allowing you to remain ignorant. And there's nothing else that I could say to you. Anyway, we're not even going to talk about the ignorant people. I want to hear when you did the Q&A, what were some of the white audience members saying when you had the Q&A?
I think that a lot of them, man, a lot of them said they never really heard of the history. A lot of them wanted just to hear my journey of putting this thing together. A lot of them wanted to hear the journey, the process, the struggles.
Well, I saw. Wait a minute, Chris. Yeah. I hate to interrupt you. I saw a lot of old white people in that photo. So some of them were saying they never heard of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some of them say never heard of it, or they kind of heard of it, but they weren't that familiar. But I think that's with a lot of people, even people in Wilmington. They were familiar with it somewhat, but they didn't know it went that deep. You know what I'm saying? With the white government union, all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of this history, it's been out there, to actually kind of know about it, but how we go in depth with it, no one's ever really touched on it like that before. I think that's what really gets people. And it's also throwing them, I guess back somewhere when they kind of see the similarities, just like how you've been talking, tonight about the similarities of what's going on today still. And a lot of times, man, they're shocked. I know one guy at the screening the other day, he was shocked at, why aren't a lot of African Americans here, And then I know another white person said that, what are the African American organizations like the NAACP and are they behind this? And I just say, well, I'm not trying to talk bad about nobody, but you know what I'm saying, the truth is, man, the NAACP and other organizations, we reached out and, they act like they didn't want to support, but, I don't let that stop what I'm doing. I just go out
No.
And I still, I still pack it out. It don't matter. Whether you rocking with us or not. We still gonna do us. And but see, I think a lot of white people are shocked by that because they know if it was somebody in their community that was doing something like this, they will fully support it. I've seen them do it. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what gets them. They're kind of shocked by that the African American community really throughout North Carolina, why aren't they fully behind this? Why aren't they fully out here, supporting this guy? Because they know if it was somebody in their community, it'll just be a no-brainer. You know what I mean? They will make sure he's straight. They'll make sure, okay, what are you doing next? They was asking me that, hey, what film you got going on next? Because if in their communities, if they like what you're doing, if it's somebody in their community, they're doing something positive and they're making good films like this and good content, they're going to get behind it and they're going to support it. And they're going to make sure you're going to continue to do this. You know what I'm saying? And make more films like this that they can learn something from. And because, like I said, it goes back, man. They understand capitalism. They understand economics. Yes. And they know it takes support and money to grow and to do more of this type of stuff. So the questions pretty much are standard. Like I said, I've done over 30 screenings over the past couple of years, and a lot of times it's mostly white people that come out and support, whether it's an admission fee to come in or whether it's free. The screening that you saw the other day, when we packed it out with 200 people, that was a free screening. A lot of times, people might.
I wish you had a charged. I wish you had a charge.
See the organization, the organization who actually did it, they actually paid me to come there, and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And, and then they, but if I was doing it myself, I usually kind of charge, initially because you don't have to pay for the venue, advertising, hotel and all that. And a lot of times people understand that, this stuff costs. Especially when you're putting together your own screenings. You have to pay for the venue, and the venue can run you about $1,000 to $2,000. You know what I'm saying? And this stuff costs, man. And, so a lot of times, majority of the money, the admission fee money, goes really towards the venue.
How much would you, well, no, we'll talk in the back end about it. But you know what? I think you should do an HBCU tour with this film, man. Have you thought about that, or?
I've thought about it. I've tried a few HBCUs, man, and we'll talk off there about it.
Okay, yeah, I got you. I trust me, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. Now the other thing I want to know is, now there was a sizable amount of African American viewers in your screening. Did any of them make any comments? And if they did, what were some of the comments that you heard?
A few. I had a couple of African Americans. Some had family from Wilmington, or some actually, lived in Wilmington for a while, and so they were kind of familiar with this. Somewhat, like I said, they just didn't know the in-depthness, what this whole thing was about. And also, one guy, he was born and raised in Wilmington. He said his family never even talked about this.
What?
He said this is his first time hearing about it. But see, that happened there. But see, the thing is, it's like Dr. Manley, Alex Manley's grandson, the guy who we have in the film. He didn't really find out about this history until he got older. You know what I'm saying? He knew that his grandfather owned a newspaper in Wilmington, but he never knew why he moved. He just thought that, the business closed down and he just wanted to move. He didn't find out about what really happened, why they moved, until like this book came out in the 70s called We Have Taken the City by Leon Fraser, and it's about the 1898 massacre, and he saw his grandparents mentioned in there, and they just didn't talk about it. They didn't talk about it at all. A lot of African Americans just never really talked about this history, especially those who went through it. They didn't really tell their children. They didn't tell their grandchildren. It was just a terrifying experience, for them, because they all were scared that, okay, if this happened once before and the government didn't protect us, they could definitely do this again, especially during Jim Crow, when we don't have any rights at all, period. So they just kept it on the low, man. But the white community, they were very open about it, within their social circles and institutions, about this. So that was the weird thing about all of this, man, just doing my research and putting this together, how the black side of things kind of kept it on the low, and the white side of things, talked about it amongst their social circles.
Yes. And that's the thing, we just have to get to a level of understanding where we have to appreciate our content and our legacy. That's all it boils down to, point blank, period. Because white America, when it comes to the legacy of the United States, every nook and cranny that can be, if it shows the struggle, if it shows the greatness, they will never let that slide. They're going to make sure that there is some institute, some society, some story, some film, some song, whatever they can do to make sure that that legacy is transmitted. And we have to develop an appreciation of everything that has happened to us and everything that we have done and everything that we are doing to make sure that in the future we have a presence. One thing that I always say, and I always talk about this to some of my people, is that, look, if you ever look at some of the movies about the future, whether we're talking about George Orwell or The Matrix and just things of that, even if you look at the cartoons, you don't see a high amount of black presence. For instance, even when I was little, I'll ask you just one question. This will answer it exactly. I'm going to ask just one question. When you were growing up, did you ever watch the cartoon, The Jetsons?
Yes.
Do you ever recall there being a black character in The Jetsons?
I don't think so.
There was never a black character in The Jetsons. The closest thing to a black character in The Jetsons was a brown dog named Astro. So it begs the thing, when they think of the future and envisioning the future, African Americans are not present. If you
Right.
look at a film called Gattaca, where they talk about, genetics and how society in the future will be structured around genetic integrity and purity of genetic character, and who will be running the government and society and the corporations. It is premised around whites, predominantly white male. That's nothing new, white male patriarchy, but whites. But when you look in the film, you only see, you had, what's my brother's name? He's a Sigma, Blair Underwood.
Yeah.
And it was like one other person in there that was black. Everybody else in the film was white. And so I'm saying is that, sometimes they say things without saying it.
Right.
It goes back to what you were saying with the newspaper. I can say it in a newspaper, or I can just show you by drawing. But see, back then, drawing is one thing. Now we do film. I just erase you from the film, and then I just show the film. But by your absence from the film, you already know what I'm saying. And so these are the things, these are the conversations that need to happen. And so it's like, I'm glad that you're doing this, the film, the screening for people so they can get an understanding. And I would love, I went to Hampton University where I got my...
Oh, yeah. Well, I would definitely love to do something there because, that's, Alex Manley. That's where he went to school at.
Exactly. Exactly. So I got my bachelor's and master's from Hampton, and then I got my doctorate from Howard. Man, I would love. I would probably just really need to just hit up the campuses and see if I could talk to maybe like the student union. But
yeah.
I mean, this film, Wilmington on Fire, man, it's like mandatory viewing. Like, the youth, we got to see this. This is mandatory. Yeah, on the same level as you had Hidden Colors, man, I know they would love this. They would eat this up. They would eat it up. So,
definitely.
Well, listen, brother, I'm not gonna talk your ear off anymore. I know people have ADD and ADHD. But listen, once again, I want you to let people know how they can get in contact with you and follow you on social media. And, they may be listening and say, hey, you know what, this sounds good. I want to bring him to my city or, whatever organization I have to do is a filming or screening. So put that back out there again.
Yeah, people can just hit me up, man. They can just hit me up on the cell. They can just text me directly. They can text me directly, 910-378-4357, 910-378-4357. They can hit me up directly via text. And they can also go to WilmingtonOnFire.com. WilmingtonOnFire.com. They can on there, WilmingtonOnFire.com. They can buy the film on there, read more about the film, what it's about, who's involved with it, or they can contact me on there as well, WilmingtonOnFire.com. They can also hit us up on Facebook, Wilmington on Fire, on Twitter at Wilmington1898, and on Instagram, Wilmington on Fire.
All right, and before you go, I do have to ask this question. How did you even come up with this idea to even do this documentary? I mean, such a phenomenal film and great content. Like, what made you say, look, you know what, I'm gonna do this documentary on this massacre of Wilmington?
I've always had like a deep interest, in African American history and history that's not talked about. You know what I'm saying? I kind of stumbled upon the story, and there I just said, you know what, I'm gonna see if anybody actually did a film on it, because someone had actually did a documentary on it. I'm saying, nah, I'm not doing. I'll do something else. Because I had a few other ideas to do some other stuff on, but I saw no one actually did it. So I said, you know what? I want to start my own film production company. I'm going to do this as my first film. But I was lucky enough to work with some talented guys that they're doing their thing right now. My boy Isaiah Dante Lee, he was my cinematographer, and now he's going on to do some amazing stuff, man. He shoots like J. Cole's music videos. He does like a lot of commercials for Nike. He also was a cinematographer for the movie Burning Sands that's on Netflix right now. And, yeah, he was a cinematographer on that. Yeah. And,
wow.
Yeah, and also the guy who did the music for my film that did the score, Matthew Head. He actually does the music for Oprah's TV show, that Greenleaf TV show. For Oprah. Wow. And he does like a lot of Lifetime movies and BET and TV1 movies as well. So I was fortunate what we got early, but just seeing their stuff when I first was putting this stuff together, I was like, yo, these guys are good. And I know after this film, they're going to go and do some great things. And that's how it's been with like about 4 people that I work with on this project. They're going on to do some amazing stuff. They gave me like a discounted rate back then, because everybody was on the come up. But now, man, they're getting up there. But I'm happy for them, so they make, they doing their thing and making a good living. And, I'm happy that I was able to help with that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It makes me proud, man, when I see, their new projects or something they're working on, because I know I had a hand in helping with that. And that's what it's all about.
Yes. Excellent, brother. Excellent. All right, man. Well, listen, I look forward to Wednesday, man. I know we're going to have some real good dialogue for the people. This will be up too for you to share. And, hey, man, listen, just keep pushing, keep pumping out content. Any new projects you got in the oven that's baking that we need to know about, or should we wait
man.
for you to...
I got this, I'm actually start shooting the trailer probably in September. We're doing a joint on a documentary on Grandmaster Vic Moore. He's like a 4-time world karate champion. One of the first professional karate champions in America, period. He's a brother, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, he's a 10th dan. He's fought people like Chuck Norris, done speed competitions against Bruce Lee. You familiar with remember the movie Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Yeah.
All right, they was based off a real dude named Frank Dukes.
Yep.
That's the person
Frank Dukes, that's right. He's in the Guinness Book of World Records, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have him in the film. I talked to him a few weeks ago, actually. And he actually trained under a Grandmaster Vic Moore. And they're going to talk about how they fought against each other, right, to see who goes to the Kumite. The Kumite was the tournament, that he was in. And so it was a tie between him and Grandmaster Moore. And Grandmaster Moore pretty much, they had to fight each other to see who was going to go to the Kumite. And it was a tie. So Grandmaster Moore was going to go, but he let, Frank Dukes go. He said, he deserves it. And that's how Frank Dukes was able to go to the Kumite. And, the rest is history. You know what I'm saying? And so they're going to share that whole experience of how, this dude, he was very influential, and helped out a lot of martial artists like that. And a lot of people don't even know that story, of how, Frank Dukes, that's why he was able to go to that tournament, because of Grandmaster Moore. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be dope, man.
Wow.
I've been talking to him for a few years about doing this project, and I said, you know what, he's getting up there in age. I want to give him his flowers while he's still living. You know what I'm saying? I ain't want to wait until he died. Let's go ahead and do it now. So we're going to start filming in September. So it's going to be cool.
Man, yes, get it all, brother. Get it all. Hey, listen, if you need some help in funding, make sure you, we talk offline about that, okay?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I believe in this type of stuff,
Yeah,
awesome.
Definitely. Cool. Yeah, and also, we got as an act of protest. We're doing things of that. We're getting that together. We're working on doing something in Detroit at the Charles Wright Museum, probably in a few months, and a few other places. And, we're just getting the interest out about that. You had Dennis on your show, not too long ago. talking about it. And, I was very fortunate enough that, he's allowed me to, distribute and remaster and really re-releasing this thing, to a new audience. But we had a screening the other week in Raleigh. Great turnout. We had about 50 people come out. And I was shocked because, no one really in the area ever heard about this film. You know what I'm saying? So, we promoted hard. And, I did my thing on the grassroots level. And we had a great turnout. Dennis did his thing. Great Q&A as well. So we're going to continue to, push as an act of protest out there. And hopefully by end of the year, beginning of next year, we'll come out with a DVD for it.
That is another great film. Everybody, if you have opportunity to Google it, go to YouTube and catch the different parts.
Well, we got the website up, actofprotest.com, actofprotest.com.
Okay, there we go, everybody. So you heard that. Great film. When I say it's very apropos to the time, very, very, very apropos. Talking about gentrification, talking about it all, serious business. So these brothers are out here doing it, man. I mean, I'm looking at y'all like, man, I'm trying to get on y'all level. So I'm just happy to be on the line with you, man, and just sharing this. We're going to chop it up on a radio show on Wednesday on Source Radio Network, Blog Talk Radio, Source Radio, my show, The Pendulum, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. I also want to make sure when we get offline, I'm going to inbox you with my boy Joseph Ward. Joseph Ward, he has his organization. It's called On the Shoulders of Giants, and they're out of Florida, and they have their radio show too. So it'll be good. I would love to connect you guys. Maybe if you want to go down to Florida and do a screening, whatever. Very good, brother. So that's what's up.
Cool.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this was Christopher Everett. This is Dr. Samori Swigert, and we're going to sign out. And that's about it. So do your research. Make sure you support Black business. Say hello. Say peace to somebody that you don't know. Eat well, eat right, meditate, rest well, learn something new every day. And we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.